pass from Havili was magic. The shift on for Crotty. Boom, far down you go, Quackett Smith. Me, oh my, I have enjoyed that. Yes, boy.
Sit back, relax, put your belt on, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Draft Rugby Podcast, Season 3, Episode 31, where we discuss fantasy Super Rugby, the game they play online in heaven. You can check out the platform at draftrugby.com and get after us on the socials at Draft Rugby. I'm your host, Kargi, and I am joined by both Harry and Nelson on Zoom. Fellas, how are you? Harry, you're looking a little bit longingly kind of over at the trophy, mate. Happier times, days gone past?
I've seen better days, mate, let's be honest. Knocked out to Newbung, who's gone 4-0 on me this year. Just absolutely swept me. And I know he broke his arm and had to have an operation, but I feel like I'm the real unlucky one.
Do you think he caught you off guard with that? He kind of got the sympathy vote, maybe. You got a little complacent in that he'd had I think it was elbow surgery last week, and you just didn't have your guard up.
Yeah, that's right, mate. It's a gift from the gods, that elbow surgery, because he was due some good luck and it's come his way.
Yeah, I thought he beat you twice before that, but yeah, let's just go with that story.
That's true. 4-0. It's going to be a sore point, and certainly one Harry's going to want to get back on him next year. And speaking of huge changes, I suppose, the one and only Nelson Dale is no longer the spoon. He did
finally some justice, mate. Just some justice. NSYNC deserved this more than anyone, and I did not deserve to be in that playoff. So I made my way out, thankfully, and no more wooden spoon for the year.
Well, look,
NSYNC's in Loserville.
How much did you avoid the spoon by for the third year in a row?
100 or something.
Was it that much?
Yeah.
No, that's not as close as I thought I was.
No.
Fair play.
No, that's a good effort. I think Nelson and I were just discussing it was a fairly momentous occasion.
103, Harry.
In that we made it, Facebook Messenger, the draft group, the OG League group official by changing the nicknames. Nelson has reclaimed Nelson, and Harry is now the has-been. He's gone from the champ to the has-been.
Yeah.
So, how good. But I'm happy, Nelson, that you didn't go back to back to back, because it's just more of a mouthful. So now it's easier just to say you were the back-to-back spoon. So
that's right, mate.
That's right. You can't escape the past, thankfully.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just needed to get out of that wooden spoon circle, mate. I'm fine.
Excellent.
Look, it should be said as well that Nelson's retiring from footy next year, so he'll be absolutely laser focused next year. But moving on to the big dance, Kargi, mate, you scraped in with the third highest score of the semi-finals, but scraped in you did, mate. You played the man, and another final.
That's it. Thank you, boys. I enjoy playing the man. It was I was going to say arch nemesis, but saying that would imply that Nabung is, in fact, my nemesis and at my level. So I'll just say I just beat Nabung, who I enjoy beating. And I wanted to give him some hope. So I picked a few kind of Brumbies players off the bench, a few speculators, Folau Fainga, I thought would come in, almost bagged himself a try on the 80th minute, but was called back. So no, it was good. Got to test out some stuff. That's what you can do when you've got a 200-point lead in the first week of the two semis. But look, I'm hoping that I can bring it home for the three of us, so that one of us who do a fantasy rugby podcast wins the championship, and not the rookie of the season.
I appreciate that, and I'm going to cheer for Chrissy. So
yeah, I'll be going for Chrissy as well, mate. He deserves it. Minor premier in the pre-COVID season as well, undefeated at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm on him.
I'd expect nothing less. As the current minor premier, I'd like to think I have the momentum going into this final, but some will perhaps not with my last week's fantasy score. So anyway, we'll see. Exciting things to come. All right, let's jump into the pod for this week. On our menu for tonight, for entree, we'll be reviewing Super Rugby AU Round 9. For main course, we'll be looking at the upcoming penultimate round of Super Rugby AU, or the regular season.
Isn't it just the ultimate round?
The penultimate?
Yeah.
The final round of the regular season. Is that what we're happy with that? Good. Round 10. And for dessert, we are going to look at most improved players pre-COVID to post-COVID. So in Super Rugby 1.0, we'll call it, which players were doing really well, and who was most improved in Super Rugby 2.0. And some interesting insights there. All right, without further ado, let's jump into the entree. So the Reds had the bye this week, and the first game.
Confirm, sorry, mate. I just want to make sure that we're grammatically accurate. Penultimate means second to last.
We did say it last week, so it's all right. Tricky for Craig's.
I try my best, boys, but thank you for pulling me up. That's good. Just really keeping the flow of this pod going. I love it.
That's right. Keeping on.
Excellent. Now, yes, so the Reds had the bye, and the Brumbies, look, we said last week it was pick up the Reds. They absolutely trounced the Force, and this week we thought the Brumbies would do the same. The scoreline perhaps suggested they did a better job than they did, I thought, but who wants to rip in and take us through the Brumbies and the Force?
Look, I'm happy to jump into this one. The Brumbies and Force, there was 5 tries to 2 to the Brumbies, 31-14. In terms of the return column, as Kagi said, Folau Fainga off the bench, Joe Powell back into the starting side, Henry Stowers, Tevin Ferris from his concussion. And there were a couple of new injuries with Tevin Ferris again getting injured, this time for his ankle, and Brad Lacey got pulled pre-game, which is probably the best thing for the Force possible. The Force were so much better than we expected. I suppose we'd probably, based on what we thought was going to happen off the last week or two, like more than what had happened for the rest of the season. We'd been saying that they had 60 minutes in them against a lot of the top sides, and then that's when they sort of faded off. And it was very similar, I think, in this. That followed that storyline. That 60 minutes, they were down 17-14. And we just thought things were going to fall apart and get much worse earlier than that in this one. But they stayed hard and fought this one out. And it was that last 20 minutes, I think they just asked too much of the elder statesmen. They're guys that are, 35, 36, 37, and they're leaving them on to the back end of the game, which just seems like they're asking too much.
It was also, I just wanted to say, I don't know if you guys saw, but Kahui took quite a beating throughout the game. I think there might have been another injury that to someone else that necessitated him staying on, but he got almost knocked unconscious and he could barely get up, and they didn't even take him off for an HIA. I think they kind of, like you said, the elder statesmen, they're putting him out to pasture. They're like, I'll be done after this season,
Yeah. I think one big thing for the Force was their line out had improved so much. It's something that we'd torn them to shreds about in the past. And they won 15 of their 16 compared to the Brumbies 15 of their 18. So I think that might be 2 weeks in a row that they've been the stronger side in the line out, which is quite surprising. Harry, is there anyone here that impressed you in this match?
Look, I think that the two obvious ones are first and foremost, I've been a little bit cooler on Bailey Kunzel than a lot of other people. I thought he had a really good game for his standards. I just think he controlled it really, really well and probably actually deserved a little bit more of the applause this week. So I thought he was a real standout for me. And the other one, the obvious one, the low-hanging fruit, is that Nick White, when he came on, was a class above. And
so good.
I found myself umming and ahhing if you give him the Wallabies number 9 jersey. And don't get me wrong, Tate McDermott's still the obvious competition, but he's just so far above anyone else in that race at the moment. He really is the test player out of all the halfbacks in Australia at the moment.
I think we've discussed it. I personally, I'm going to have Jake Gordon in there for my Wallabies team.
Look, I think for me, if Nick White can put in a few more performances like that, he's proved why he's been brought back and why he was in the Wallabies squad over the World Cup. He was just absolute class. And for me, I love Tate McDermott more than anyone. And I still think at the moment, if it continues as it is, Nick White's the man to start the match for me. And I think Tate McDermott has just got so much punch. So you bring him on the back end of the game, and that's where those gaps are for him.
Especially to blood him as well. It's a lot easier to bring a young guy in playing more and more minutes off the bench rather than making him start 4 tests against the All Blacks.
Yep.
That's true. I just wanted to say I also thought Kunze was very good. I like that he actually ran the ball back a lot, but the low-hanging fruit was Tom Banks. Mate, how good was he?
He was brilliant like always. I'm a big fan. Harry, I think he's been less convinced.
Like always, mate. He's been horrendous this year.
It was.
He has been so average this year. He was great in this one. I'll give him that. He's the fantasy man of the match. But he's had such a shocking year coming back from injury. And Cargie's right. He was exceptional in this game.
Yeah, I was thinking Tom Wright, not Tom Banks. Yeah, Tom Banks has been poo. Look, the meters, the meters in this one was 569 to 281. Tackle busts were 28 to 13. This is both towards the Brumbies. 10 to 3 line breaks. The Brumbies also had 91% tackle percentage, and the Force had 77%. The fantasy man of the match was Tom Banks, as we alluded to. 65 points, 13 runs for 128 metres, which is awesome. 1 try, 6 tackle busts and a line break. Tom Wright, 54. Alan Alatoa, 48. R.A. Simone, 46. Bailey Kudzil, 43. Andy Muirhead, 41. And Will Miller, 40. Just goes to show, pick against the Force. And for the Force, Fergus Lee Warner got 59 points.
Should say Will Miller as well deserves a shout out. I thought he was really good in his link play, and it's something that we haven't seen as much of at the Brumbies yet. He's been a big worker, but I thought his attack was really good.
Yeah, I think you're bang on with pick the Force. Pick whoever's playing the Force. Quite a few good scores there from the Brumbies, but none of the big 90-point scores that we saw from the Reds the week before. But still very good. All right, on to the next game. We had the Rebels and the Tars. I watched this in a mate's living room about a kilometre from the stadium, but couldn't seem to convince anyone to go to the game. So how good a fan am I? But there you go. Harry, do you want to run us through this game?
Yeah, this was a good game. I really enjoyed this. I ended up watching this on delay on Sunday because I was out at the 30th and really, really enjoyed it. So the Tars obviously got up 38 to 32. They scored 5 tries to the Rebels 4. Returning, he didn't miss a game, but Matty Tamur before the bye got knocked the hell out. So good to see him coming back and actually looking as sharp as ever, to be honest. But there was one injury as well. Tommy Horton came off after about 45 minutes, and he was seen icing his hammy on the sideline. I know Kafar keeps an extra close eye. Not Kafar, Kernsey, sorry, keeps an extra close eye on the Waratahs hookers. And he had mentioned that Horton was limping around a little bit before that as well. So I think that's probably an injury and maybe casts a little bit of doubt if they do manage to scrape their way into finals that he might not be right. The question watching any of these Tars games at the moment is which Tars team is gonna show up, and it's almost like they're a week on, a week off. So again, if they do make finals, it's great that their week off is during their bye. But look, they turned up. They were the confident, dominant side that we know they can be at their very best. I thought the Rebels did pretty well to stay in it, to be honest. In the first half, you had one of the big changes, Tepai Maroa brought in at 12, and I think they realised that they needed some more players to get them over the gain line, especially with their lightweight pack and without the impact of Carmichael Hunt. And I thought Tepai Maroa was really, really good. We had a big conversation ourselves on draft night about the fact that his biggest weakness before COVID, when he did get a little bit of game time, was that he was so slow laterally, and then he really did look like the rugby league player coming back to the code that he'd grown up with. And, you know, he looked slimmer. He's still very big and physical and dominant, but he looked like he belonged. I think he's a really good prospect for next year and might be a big reason why they haven't offered Carmichael Hunt a contract.
There was
yeah, you go, Nels.
There were some rumours as well that because he wasn't getting that game time, that he was looking back at league to see if he could go back that way. There were only rumours. We can't know that for sure, but I think it was a good chance for him to have that run. And boy did he look more fit than he did at the start of this season. And I think that shows, attitude for him. We know he's a hard runner, a hard defender, and can offer a lot. And it was quite disappointing to see him earlier on in this year, but I think he's really proved that he's got what it takes, at least at this level.
Yeah, he definitely did everything he could to lose weight, mate, even including an atrocious haircut, mate. He cut off so much of his hair. He had this disgusting kind of...
Cut that top off.
Yeah, like the creepy thin man from Charlie's Angels. It was like, come on, mate.
It was bad.
But yeah.
Yeah, look, I think he looked really good, and you can't blame him for looking back to league as well with the with where the contracting is at the moment in Australian rugby. But hopefully we can keep a hold of him because he is a prospect. I think the other one that I really picked up on in this game in terms of the Waratahs attack was how much they wanted to attack that inside channel. So there was a few different instances that stood out to me. The first one was Gordon giving the little 1-2 pass. He passes back inside to Michael Hooper. No, sorry, he passed one off the ruck to Michael Hooper, and then Hooper just pops it straight back inside to Gordon to try and slice through with his quick acceleration. Got through there. And there was another one where Hooper came back in and gave the inside ball to Joey Walton, where he scored his first Super Rugby try, first ever. They used it a few times. They've scored a few times off Swinton. I remember early in the season they gave it to Maddox. That's who it was.
Mate, as I called it, the Jake Gordon Renaissance, mate. He creates so much in attack for them.
Yeah, absolutely. But obviously they're trying to use those loose forwards to help feed those inside balls, considering that the defence is normally not setting for them to be a playmaker as well. So that was really good to see. Half-time, 17-10 to the Waratahs. Another standout performance, I thought, from Jack Dempsey. He's been fantastic now 4 weeks in a row, just in everything, gets over the game line, sniffs a try. Really, really good to see him back in full flight, and he basically buried me with his 2 performances in the semi-finals. So, I mean, despite that, I'm still happy to see a good Waratahs man playing well. After the 60-minute mark, the Tars are up 31-17, 2 converted tries. I thought they were going to go on with it, to be honest with you, but I think it was all Matt Tamur that kind of kept them in the game. I thought he was outstanding at number 12. I don't think it matters where he plays, 10 or 12. He's just an exceptional player. You know, I think a few things that stood out for me was, first of all, that really hard unders line that he hit, and he went through a couple of the loose forwards from the Tars to just score a try and touchdown there. That kind of kept them in the game on the scoreboard. Then you had another one a little bit later in the game where Maddox looked like he was going to score for all money, and Tamur put a big hit on and then managed to hold him up over the line. And then even later on, he set up Corabetti down the left side. He just kind of threw the dummy, sliced through the line, and then fed him, and Corabetti slid over from about 5 out. You know, it was just big play.
10 out?
10 out he slid in, was it?
I think
gas, mate. He can slide from anywhere, but it was just the Matt Tamur show. I know people were saying, Nasarani all the way, but Matty Tamur was the best player on the park by a country mile to me. I thought he was exceptional.
Even I can agree with that, and I had Nazarani carrying me into finals.
Big pick from you as well, mate, saying that he was looking good and he was going to come back into form. I never back him out into form, but paid off. He must have been almost your entire fantasy points, actually.
He was. He basically was, yep.
Yeah.
So.
Issy Nasarani, look, 2 big moments in this one to finish off. First of all, Issy Nasarani's second try, Billy Meeks throws an offload inside. He was clearly out. Black and white, clearly out. Then there was a phase or 2 before they went over the line, so it never got looked at. But that was really disappointing because that was the first obvious blunder on the touchline I've seen. Normally the touchies are really, really, really on it. So that was really disappointing. And Lockie Swinton as well with the shoulder charge into Issy Nasarani's head. He took his head off and Nasarani was surely concussed. That should have been a red card.
Absolutely.
I was happy as a Swinton owner that it wasn't, but definitely should have been a red card. So bit dodgy there as well.
We're talking about how, I think, was it Matt Phillip got a yellow card for, touching someone in the line out, and someone almost takes Nazarani's head off and doesn't get anything.
Yeah, Matt Phillip's mine as well, so I was copying all of them. But I think, to be fair, the Matty Phillip yellow was a warning before that the Rebels were told that if there were any more penalties anywhere in the field, that they were going to get a man sent. So I think that was just consecutive penalties, to be honest.
Yeah.
For the match stats, I thought first half was really Tars dominant, 62% possession, 67% territory. Then it flipped in the second half. The Rebels had 56 possessions, 60% territory as well. The run meters were relatively low, 283 to 305, a few line breaks apiece. And then I think the big key was the lineouts. The Rebels were really impressive, 17 from 17, which is massive. And the Waratahs, 13 from 17. What was a real strength for them in the first half of Super Rugby AU has started to slip away a little bit. Tackle percentage is really high on both sides, 93, 91%. So I don't know if you read that as good defence or poor attack, but I choose to believe it's good defence. and the Tars still giving away more penalties, 11-8. We touched on the fantasy man of the match, Isi Nasserani, as well. He had 68 points, 15 carries for only about 20 or 4 meters, 2 tries in that as well. One of them he poached off a rolling ball, which definitely shouldn't have been his, but we'll let that go. The Prince that was promised will surely be absolutely chomping at the bit to take that one off him next time. He also had a line break, an offload, and 15 tackles. So 15 runs, 15 tackles. It's hard not to score a lot of points. From the Rebels, speaking of the Prince that was promised, Ulisi had 52, Corabetti 45, Matty Tamua 44, deserved more. Cameron Orr 40 points with a few offloads. Really love watching him play. And then on the Tars side of things, Jack Dempsey 62 points, Gordon 49, HJH Johnson Holmes 49 points with another pick and go try. And Michael Hooper, one of the best running and attacking games I've seen from him in a long time, 42 points for him as well.
Yeah, definitely one of his most influential games, especially when the game got tight at that back end. He influenced with the charge down of a kick that led to that last try. Also, he had that try assist as well a little bit early on. So he had a massive game.
Indeed. Are you, just to pull you up on that point, are you still picking Fraser McWright over Michael Hooper in your Wallabies at the moment? Or
Mate, I've said the whole time I'd be picking Hooper to start.
Cargie, short memory, mate. How good was Fraser McWright a week ago?
I know.
Fraser McWright was brilliant. Off the bench, mate. That looks good.
No, very good. All right. Yes, well, I mean, that was a big charge down, Andrew Deegan, and that will bring us on to the main course of will we see him start again next week?